Three couples enjoying a reunion of sorts. Hana Engel and her boyfriend, former Ottawa 67s player Jake Cardwell, visiting with current Ottawa Senator Cody Ceci, his girlfriend Jamie, and there's another couple. Jake and Hana actually having just returned from the Czech Republic, where Jake is actually currently playing. 24 years old, enjoying life and family and friends, and in an instant, life changed forever. Hana Engel, the girl who caught on fire. Welcome to episode 27 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang, the podcast brought to you by Extension Marketing. And for more information, of course, you can always check out extensionmarketing.com. Hana, I can't believe we're actually sitting here.
I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy. You're here. You're alive.
I know. It's nuts. It's hard to believe. Makes me cry.
I think this is going to be an emotional one. I'm honored that you are sitting here, and then I was like, Hana, can you sit for an hour? That was my biggest concern. Are you going to be okay to sit for an hour? And I find you remarkable, and I want to just let people know before we kind of go into the whole story of what happened on that fateful night of May 9th. You and I had actually connected. We hadn't actually met in person until coming to do this podcast, but I remember when I had left the station and had launched my Awaken a Better You wellness cruise, I get this message on Instagram from this beautiful girl, Hana, and I'm like, okay, she kind of looks familiar. I'm not really sure how I know her, but
I'll
here
accept
you are.
This message.
Yeah, I'm going to accept. I'm allowing this message. And you were like, listen, I read about your cruise. I'm here in Europe. If you need any help with kind of health and wellness and where to go and what's available, like, let me know. And I'm like, this is so sweet. Like, just from out of the
I was
blue.
so excited that you were doing that around Europe. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I was so excited that I was there, and I was like, I could show her all the cool little spots
because that's you. I mean, your life while you were in the Czech Republic and Jake is playing, your life back here in Ottawa had been about you establishing your own yoga studio and health wellness. That was a massive part of your life.
Yeah. So I got when I went over to Czech, I was always going to different. Like I found there was a gym studio that you attach all these wires to you, and it's like sends electrical. I'm like finding all these new things everywhere. So right when I found that, I was like, this is something that the cruise needs to stop. The cruise needs to stop at this place.
If we were going to the Czech Republic, I would be fascinated by a place that was like that.
Yeah.
And for you, that was part of your extension of finding this life in Europe while Jake was playing, because you had the founding of your yoga studio, and yoga and health, wellness, meditation was a big part of your life.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it's come full circle, because I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. I was meant to go into yoga because this whole fire thing was part of my plan, and it's been the biggest part of my recovery, and the doctors keep saying like yoga has been a huge part of your recovery.
The mental meditative aspect of yoga, or being able to get your body into a relaxed state, or to allow it.
The stretching of the skin.
Really?
Yeah, the stretching. It's all new skin. I have to stretch. That's why I'm so tight. And the mental state too, like being able to breathe and like know the different breathing techniques has helped so much. But what the doctors are amazed, they're all science, so they're amazed that I'm able to stretch. A lot of people don't know how to stretch, so when I come to my appointments and I'm able to put my head back, they're very happy.
And you're putting your head back with some massive damage, and your skin, and we're going to get into what happened, but to understand that prior to all of this, it had been a massive health, body awareness had been a massive part of your life.
Yeah.
Do you miss being able to practice that or be able to do things like that, the yoga movement still? Yeah,
it was funny because last night, my Jake had one of his friends come into town. He was staying at our place, and they were gaming on their Xbox. So I went upstairs. I was like, I'm going to try some yoga. Like, no one's here. I want to see if I could do it. And there were a few things that, like, my body physically, like, couldn't do. Like, my left arm, for example, like, it was not fully, a week ago, it was bent 90 degrees. So being able to straighten it was, like, a win for me, which would never have been a win before. Like, being able to straighten my arms.
There's very small little miracles that I think are happening every day. And I think you sitting here is a miracle in itself, because when I heard, and it was just, I think about 48 hours or so after your accident, that there was a massive chance that you weren't going to survive this. So let's bring people through exactly what happened, and how we're able to sit and talk about this now. But bring us back, if you don't mind, to May 9th. And what was just meant to be, three couples, a couple of great friends, sitting around having a nice night.
We brought our English bulldog over because our German Shepherd isn't very friendly, so we left him at home and brought her. And I was Snapchatting her, playing with Cody's 2 Frenchies, and it was fun. We were having a great night, and we went to the table to have some dinner, and we were kind of all just sitting there. No one was drunk. No one was, like, there wasn't much drinking. We were literally there to catch up. It was 5 days that we've been home.
You'd only been home from Czech for 5 days. How long had you been gone? Like, when had you left and when did you come back?
Jake was gone since July, and I had gone end of September. So it was...
You'd been gone 6 months?
Yeah.
7 months? Yeah. Okay.
So we were catching up with our friends, and it was normal. Nothing was weird, and my friend came walking to the table with a bottle, and we were all kind of looking like, what are you going to do with that?
Okay, so you're sitting at a square table at having dinner. So it's still a meal. Like there's so at table height.
Table height, and Cody's getting up to flip some burgers, and people are just someone's getting up to grab water.
But it's not like you're on a couch. You're at like a table, sitting at dinner table, and in the middle, it's almost like a centerpiece.
Like a centerpiece of candle, like one of those fire pit tables that's like surrounded by glass, so it looks nice. It's like you see it at the end. How do you say the hotel?
At the Andes, yes.
See that the outside their tabletops and different patios have like a Joey Lansdowne like they have those to be nice, right?
Right, they're pretty. Right.
It wasn't pretty that night.
No, it had been. It had been setting the mood. You have this table. At the middle of this table is the centerpiece with the flames. So it's a fire. It's a smaller version of a fire pit then.
Yeah.
And you can move it.
Yeah, you
like it's actually something that you can pick up.
That's what I recall. I don't recall like the full piece perfectly. I just have slight visions of it, and Jake remembers what it looked like, and I just remember it being a really pretty glass piece with like torches almost going along them in the middle.
Okay.
So one of them, I guess, ran low. None of them were out. No one noticed that the fire was out. Like it was perfectly fine. It didn't need to be reset or anything. And then, without being too detailed, next thing we knew, the stream of gas that was poured onto the empty candle, quote unquote, caught on fire, and the whole stream was just a blazing fire, and the bottle caught, and I guess by instinct it was thrown at me, and I was just...
There's an instinct to get rid of the bottle. I mean, to toss it out. Yeah. And unfortunately, you were in that line of where the toss went. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy it was me and not Jake. I'd much rather it be me than him. I don't know if I would have been as strong as he is, like, going through this.
That takes a lot to say that right now.
Yeah. As
you're sitting here in months later with your life completely having changed. The canister is in flames. It lands. It's tossed. And you immediately, where does it hit?
I heard the noise. So there was a noise, like whooshy noise, and it just kind of came on me, and then I saw my arm was on fire, and then before I knew it, I heard Jake screaming as soon as my arm caught. So as soon as he saw a flame even touch me, he started screaming, "No, no, no," exactly in that tone. Like I could hear it in my head still. And my instinct was just to lift my arms and cover my face and close my mouth and squeeze my eyes shut. It was just an instinct, and they said that that's what saved my face. I mean, it caused a lot of damage to my arms, but I'd rather my arms not, than have a disfigured face from that. But I just hear Jake screaming. I lifted my arms and ran and went to the grass, and I remember as I was running
do you remember how far it was from the table to the grass where you dropped and rolled?
Yeah, so how it was set up was kind of the table was on a deck, almost a deck type thing with one of those canopy, like gazebo type things on top, and it was right below there was like a concrete little patio area with another fireplace table and couches, and we weren't sitting there. So I had to run off the deck, off that little concrete area, and I tripped. I don't remember if someone tripped me or if Jake pushed me to get me on the ground, but I fell That's why I had like, I hit my head or something and I fell to the grass and I was just trying to smother my head in the grass and roll. I was just thinking of like when you're little and they say stop, drop, and roll. I was like, shit, as if I actually have to do this right now. And I was just doing it. And I remember as I was running though to go roll in the grass, I saw the hot tub. And I was looking for water at that point. Like I was looking for a glass of water even. And I remember seeing like a glass of, I forget if it may have been a glass of wine on the table. And I was like even going to pick that up. And I was just thinking of ways to get the fire off of me. And I was about to jump in the hot tub and I didn't, thankfully, because that would have killed me right away, apparently. And
the chemicals, there would have been something
and
between
the heat, yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you don't make it to the hot tub. You're
so I
on
dodged the hot
Yeah.
tub, rolling on the ground, and I still remember seeing like I was just struggling. I didn't want to yell because I didn't want to open my mouth. I heard Jake was screaming, so they were taking care of what needed to be done. But I opened my eyes and saw a flame like right over my head, and I was just at this point thinking about my my aunt. She was like an aunt type figure. She was my mom's best friend's mother, who had caught her nightgown on fire, and she passed away from the injuries like 10 days after. So all I was thinking about was, this is it. Like I said, right, I was thinking right then, like, people wonder what their death is going to be like. This is mine. Like I was just prepping myself, and I took a couple, once the fire was out, deep breaths, and I looked up at Jake and I said, am I going to die? And he was screaming, no, and just doing whatever he can to...
Okay, you said something in there before that the fire went out. So as you're going through this, they were able to bring it down, but there was a reason why. You had brought your dog.
Yeah, so as this was all, it was just such a a commotion. So much was happening at once.
In a split second, right?
Yeah, every second mattered. Like the fire department even said, like if Jake had waited 5 seconds with that dog bowl, which I'll tell you in a second, that you wouldn't have been alive probably. And so what happened right as I was on the ground, everyone was doing everything to try. Someone was calling 911, someone was grabbing the water, so someone grabbed the water for Jake. It was in one of those dog bowls that's like a container, so you fill it up and the water just dispenses throughout the day, so you don't have to keep filling a little bowl up. So it was tight, I guess. Whoever filled it locked it tight, which is normal. I do that too. Mm-hmm. And Jake described as like, while this was all happening, he had some sort of superpower. Like he was so strong, his adrenaline was just going. And he was able to crack it open over his knee somehow without like breaking it, just opened it over his knee and just splashed it on me and kept going. And they kept asking for bring more. He was just doing whatever he could. And all of a sudden you hear it, and it all goes out. And I
could hear the sizzle. Like, is it the sight? Is it the sounds? Is it the smell? Like, what can you remember?
For me, I remember every sound. I remember seeing. I remember being able to see what was going on. As far as feeling goes, smell, I don't really remember the smell. I mean, I know that once you're in the burn unit, like, it smells like fire. Like, you smell burnt skin, burnt hair, and all that stuff. But I was more freaking about if I was going to live. So I was trying to brace myself for, like, that last breath that they say you take and you see, like, loved ones, which happened, which is why I was even more sure that I wasn't going to make it, because I saw this weird shadow. So it was like a light shadow with my great aunt, so my grandmother's sister, and my mother's best friend who passed away when she was 18. And like they were standing together holding hands, and then to the side, it sounds like I'm crazy, like you're gonna send me out of here. This girl needs help, but it's true. Like it happens. And the other shadow was not in a bright light, it was more in like a dark circle type thing, and that was my grandma. And she was kind of like, people are always like, well, what were they saying? And it's hard to explain because it's like you don't experience
body
it.
Experience a little bit,
yeah,
right?
So I'm having trouble explaining it, but she was kind of just like she was just sitting there on a bench, whereas these two that were already passed were standing. So it all happened so fast that I was thinking about it, but I was like, no, I was fighting stuff. I was like, no, I'm not supposed to go, like, fight. And I was just fighting to be strong, not Crumble.
Were you in, was it piercing pain? I mean, I was standing next to a bonfire the other night, and knowing that I was going to be talking to you, and I was standing near it and feeling the heat, like
that's what it feels like.
Trying to remember, you know, and then you step away, right? Like you get there, you want that warm feeling, and then you step away, and I'm wondering what it would have felt like to be
in it.
Yeah,
it's like I was so worried on fighting to live, whereas the feeling that you feel is more of like just a heat. Like that's why I'm having trouble going back to my studio, because that's how I describe the feeling when you walk into a hot room and you get that hit of the heat. That's what it feels like, and then after you get really cold and you don't know what's going on. But then when I saw my grandma, I kind of blacked out a little bit. Like I went out in it. I was going in and out of consciousness,
but you don't remember. It was like going in and out of consciousness. Your body it wasn't allowing you to feel how much pain you were actually.
Yeah, I was like in shock, and like just like Jake was, my adrenaline was going, and I was doing everything I could to just survive.
There was such a yell from Jake, like it could be heard by neighbors.
Yeah,
and so luckily, I mean, there was an off-duty paramedic who was next door.
And firefighter,
and who jumped the fence. They heard the screams.
Yeah, and when they came in, they didn't know what was going on. They thought Jake was raping me, and they thought I was a bonfire. They didn't know that I was a person on fire. They thought, oh, there's a bonfire and there's people around. And when they realized, no, that's a girl on fire, and Jake wasn't raping anyone, he was trying to get the fire out. They kind of like went into shock too, I guess, and go get the towels and started putting towels over the fences to wrap me in until the paramedics came. But it was intense. It was
what they were able to do. What were they able to do to bring down? Because every second counted.
Every second.
What did they know in those moments that helped you eventually
in the long run? The towels that they wrapped. So they got cold towels and wrapped it tight around my body until the ambulance got there. Which I actually like walked into the ambulance after that. So it was a very brief time that they were there. She was there just telling me everything was going to be okay. They were just really trying to calm me down, and I was calm. I was weirdly calm. Like I was calm to the point where it was like you would think I was on my way out at that point, because I was just kind of like smiling, and I was like, what's going on? Really, really mellow voice I had. It was weird. It wasn't me.
No, but there's an adrenaline kicking in that you're even able to walk at that point to an ambulance, because after that, it wasn't looking good. Like, you know,
it goes
almost
down
like a
so
superpower of you being able to walk into that ambulance, because it quickly became, they didn't know if you were actually going to survive.
Yeah. So I walked into the ambulance, and Jake was freaking still because he had to make the call to my parents, tell them what the hell's going on, and no parent wants to get that call. It's the worst call you could ever get. And but at the same time, he's trying to make sure that I'm being taken care of like ASAP. He's yelling at the paramedic, drive faster, hurry. He gets in the front seat, and right as soon as I get in the ambulance, I do remember looking at the paramedic and just being like, is my face okay? Am I going to be okay? Just constantly asking about my face. And I remember the off-duty paramedic, the neighbor, was making sure that I was okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I kept saying, is my face going to be okay? No one would answer that because no one knew. So I get into the ambulance. They take me there. I'm still hearing Jake's screams. And the last sight that I had was of our family friend who's a plastic surgeon. I guess my mom called and Hannah's going to be at the general. Go. She's burnt. Go. And he thought it was like a little thing. And so he wasn't me. And then his wife said, no, Howard, go to the hospital. So he went, and I just remember this was the last thing I saw was his face over mine. And it was like a really big sense of comfort, because it almost felt like my parents were with me. And I just saw his eyes welling up with water over me, and it hit him that it was very serious. He looked at me and knew that it wasn't good, and which was a big shock for him, because we usually call him for every little cut. my mom, one of the girls.
When you have a doctor within the family or his best friends, you call for anything. And here he was looking down at a girl he's known his whole life,
like since I'm a baby,
a family friend.
And so he's seeing me in this state, and I just saw his eyes well up. So I knew still felt comfort, but knew it was serious. And I said, "Am I gonna die?" And he said, "You're going to be okay. I'm here," and was cleaning my face. And same kind of moment that I had on the grass when Jake was on top of me. And I looked up at him and I said, "Am I going to die?" And he was screaming, "No, no, no." And I said, I'm going to be so ugly. Like, what am I going to look like? Like, I'm a mess. What am I going to look like? I'm going to be so ugly. And he just looked at me and he said, "You're always going to be beautiful no matter what to me. So it doesn't matter." And he was crying, saying, we were both just crying, saying this and just in shock, both of us. But the last thing that I saw was Howard's head over me. And
that's the last image you had before
I was out in a coma.
Before you were out.
Yeah.
You're at the general at this point. Mm-hmm. What are they doing at the general before airlifted? How are you transferred to Toronto?
I was airlifted to Toronto.
Were your parents able to get to? Where were your parents?
My parents came. Everyone came to the general, so we were all there. And then I was airlifted the next day. The following morning. The following morning
too. What happens when your parent, so Howard sees you? Jake's been screaming for as long as the moment that you caught on fire. Mm-hmm. What happens? I mean, at this point, you're not conscious, but
yeah. So they were telling them that my family, the hospital, the doctors were telling my family that I probably wasn't going to make it. Jake had to sign some papers to amputate my arm, and when they said that, he flipped and he was like, "No, go do the incision, do whatever you need to do right now, please, don't do." But at the same time, he said, "Whatever you need to do, just keep her alive, please," begging. And he was asking them if they could use his skin for the grafts. I was like, thank God that they said no. If I woke up with his skin growing on my arms, so I'm making some light of the situation and things like that. I'm trying to laugh about
because you're here.
Yeah.
When your parents walk into the hospital and there is a sense of she might not make it.
Oh, they were on the floor. Gonna make it. They were on the floor right when Jake called. My dad dropped to the floor, my mom dropped to the floor, and they were just, this is when I get emotional, but yeah, they weren't good with that. They thought I was going to die.
A lot of people thought that.
Yeah.
There's a sense of you make it through the night. You make it through the first night, enough to be able to say we're airlifting her. So at this point, are you bandaged? Do you look like?
I think I was fully bandaged head to toe. And
so your parents, when they got to the hospital, there's no reflection. There's nothing of what their daughter looks like.
No, they didn't recognize me. No, they didn't recognize me, and my head was the size of a beach ball because they had to put so much fluid in me. And my skin was hanging off, and my ears were black. It wasn't good.
It's one, I don't know if Hollywood has created these, but you almost see them like a mummy of...
Yeah, it was like that, I think. And then they took me into surgery. I had 3 different surgeries, and...
That first night or before going to Sunnybrook? What was...
No, my surgeries were all at Sunnybrook. Everything was at Sunnybrook.
So that first night, they're just trying to keep you alive?
Yeah, they were just trying to keep me alive and bandage and do all the right things, whatever they did in there. And
were you induced into the coma in Ottawa?
I believe so. Yeah. I don't remember all of that, and I didn't ask that, but I don't remember anything about being airlifted. I mean, I always, throughout the whole coma, the whole time that I was in that coma, I have these faint memories of things, but I don't remember it very clearly that early on. Towards the end, I remember hearing my sister and Jake and my mom say, and my dad even say things. But at the beginning, it was more like faint. I remember kind of feeling like a bump when they were putting me on the helicopter, and I remember kind of hearing the noise very faint.
In some unconscious state.
Yeah.
There's movement. So you are Jake. Your parents. I think your sister was here.
Mm-hmm. My brother They rushed back from New York for this.
We're in New York. They pick up their.
Everything.
They leave New York with nothing, and
they're driving, being told Hannah's ears are burnt off. My brother pulls over to the side of the road just to cry because he's like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's nuts. So he wasn't very happy, but no one was. And he picked all his stuff up and came to move to Toronto, and everyone lived in Toronto for that time.
You're airlifted, you're brought to Toronto. You're in an induced coma, of which you're going to stay. I'll just let this know so you understand how much happens. You're in a coma for a month, almost 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. In that time, what then occurred? You've had multiple surgeries. What was the prognosis? Like when you arrived, what were they able to distinguish as to what was working, what wasn't, where the life support needed to be? Like what were the chances of survival?
So I had 3rd-degree burns on my arms, chest, and a little bit on my stomach, and a little bit on my leg. And then it was, I think, 2nd on my face, neck and face, which heals naturally without...
A 2nd-degree burn is able to heal itself.
Yeah, or it was either a 1st degree or 2nd degree, but whichever one it was able to heal itself. I know for a fact that 3rd degree is where you need the skin grafting, so that's where I got... Mm-hmm. Everywhere that's grafted was 3rd degree, and then everywhere that wasn't was either 1st or 2nd.
But you have 3rd-degree burns over how much? So arms,
37% of my body. So 80% of my body is still me, which is how I like to think about it.
It's one way of thinking about it, and the you that's being healed up is also you. There was how many? So when did the surgery? When did the process start? And where did they start taking the grafting? Like you thankfully were induced in a coma. You weren't aware of all the stuff.
They took the skin from my legs and did sheet grafts. So put it on my arms, my hands, wherever needed it, wherever the skin was needed.
Okay, can you explain a little bit? So
the skin graft is it goes where any damaged skin, where the burn went so deep that it damaged to the nerves. So the nerves reattach and everything, but it didn't get to the bone. I think it just goes before the muscle. That's how it is, or before the fat. I don't remember exactly what he said. I try not to think of like the terrible things, but they put it 3rd-degree burns are where you need the grafting, and it kind of grosses me. When I first woke up, I was grossed out. I was like, what the hell? Why are my legs on my chest? Like, why is my leg skin on my arm? Like, I was freaked, and I didn't want it, and I wanted them to take it off, and it was just, it's crazy what they could do. The technology that they had that night to perform 18 hours of surgery on me to save my body is insane. Like,
and it could have been a 12-hour surgery. You had a surgeon that was able to extend it, pull it in the 18 hours, and do a different kind. There were skin grafts that were taken from your legs. And to be honest with you, Hannah, you've been incredibly generous with this, but I'll have pictures to show the difference between what the donor site from one of your legs, and then another leg is a different kind of...
So there's the donor site, which is where they take the skin, and then there's the graft site, where they put the skin. And then I had 2 types of grafts done. So the one on my leg, he did mesh graft, which is they poke little holes in the skin. So they're taking less skin from you, but it covers a bigger surface because of the holes that they poke. Doesn't heal as nice because it heals with some dots. If you're in the sun and you tan, like you could see some of the dots, like any scar you get. But for me, he did, for the upper half of my body, all sheet grafts. So he just took the skin, like they literally like a cheese grater, grate your skin off and stretch it and put it on where I needed it, and that's supposed to heal like normal.
You have a lot of those taken from your legs. So will the legs where the skin was taken from, how will that heal?
Totally back to normal. And I know
it doesn't look like that now. Like, what's the process? How long will they say that will take?
It's already starting to heal. My upper legs are starting to heal now. I think it's because there's more fat there, so it's easier it heals nicer. But they said that when I asked about my face, they described it as a flash burn. So like it went and they took it out fast enough. But I said, when's my face going to look normal? I used the word normal again. I was like, because when I was in the hospital in rehab, my face didn't even look like this. Like, it was a round head with just red. You couldn't see my nose because my face was so swollen. Like, it wasn't me. So I said, when am I going to be me? Like, when am I going to look in the mirror and see myself? And he looked at me and he goes, I'd say by the end of the summer. So by September. And it's everything that they're starting to say is starting to kind of be
Makes
true.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to see my face again. Yeah, it's still really swollen in a lot of areas, but I could recognize myself.
You can see your eyes, and there's the shape of a nose.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm getting
so
my
this
jaw
yeah.
back. Like it's all coming along. My neck is really tight right now, but that's something I said. Please tell me my neck is going to be okay. Yeah, your neck is going to be fine. And
Because right now, your neck is incredibly inflamed.
Yeah.
And very red and blistered, almost like blistered.
it's very active. That's what they call
Yes,
it. They call it
okay.
active scarring. So it's scar tissue up here, and it's healing. But my job is to massage it and keep it down, and that's what the rehab is.
But when the swelling eventually, and are you still swollen? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's
everything that's red is swollen, and I put a little bit of makeup on.
But you were excited. I mean, being able to
So
wear mascara.
excited.
I know you got the clearance.
The
a little
mascara
while.
was like a huge win. I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize what mascara does.
Yeah, you can just be able to see.
Yeah, it pops you.
Right. So you go through this 18-hour surgery. The first one, they're able to do a lot of these grafts.
And he listens to classical music while he's doing the surgery.
Do you have a sense? I mean, I know that you don't.
I mean, I don't think I don't think I heard. But you know what? This is actually something that you'll appreciate.
This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing. They are a new breed of marketing agency that acts as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective marketing strategies that will grow your business. I can speak to this personally, as I've been using the Extension Marketing team to help me launch and grow my business. Founder Pat Whalen has been a lifesaver for me, a genuine coach, guiding me along the way into uncharted territory. Tell them you're a friend of the show and receive a free 1-hour consultation. Check them out at extensionmarketing.com.
They apparently had a really hard time putting me out. And they said, like, you were a tough, he looked at me when I got up, and you are a tough little one. Like, you did not want to go to sleep. They had to, like, use almost like horse tranquilizers to put me out. Because I guess I was used to that fight. I was used
You
to...
wanted to fight.
Yeah,
knowing-
I wanted to fight going to sleep because I thought going to sleep meant I was dying. So every time I was I was like, you know,
Fighting it.
yeah, I was fighting it. So they used a lot. It took a lot for them to put me out. And I do remember while they were putting me out, me saying, what if it doesn't work and I feel everything? Like, I was just, you know, my head was in all different places, and I always think the worst. So I thought I was going to feel the whole surgery, but I didn't.
They put you out 18 hours. I mean, you have some incredible doctors.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that the fire unit at Sunnybrook, because when you look in perspective, are one of the luckier ones as to what has happened with some of the treatments for other patients. You go through these. At this point, your family, everyone has moved to Toronto, is literally by your bed. And his bedside, like someone's there, someone's talking to you, and at this point you're a massive mummy wrapped in layers.
Tubes coming out of my mouth, and I had there's pictures that I did want to share earlier, but because I think that it's so severe that people need to know not to be stupid with fire. And, you know, like, yeah, it's a luxury thing, but it's also so dangerous. And I was going to show it, but my family was like, I don't want people seeing you like that. That's how bad it was. Like, my own family didn't want people seeing me like that because it was so bad.
The aftermath of the
hospital
state that
bed.
you were in for the month in an induced coma. When did they know that you were, because I remember getting the phone call and going, we didn't think you were going to make it. When did they realize that you were that this was now just a healing process, that this coma was allowing you to heal, and that your life was no longer in danger?
I think I got pneumonia while I was in the coma, which is a common thing because of the tubes and your mouth being open. But I don't think they knew until I woke up a day before my birthday, and I don't think they knew until maybe the day leading up to that, or when I guess whatever levels start to rise and they see I'm starting to move. And
so how long had that been?
2.5, 3 weeks.
So 2.5, 3 weeks. So it wasn't like
3
your family
weeks.
sitting there knowing that.
They had no idea. They thought every time they came in, it was like they were coming in to like say their last words to me. Like that's how Jake described it. And he said by the end of it, I just all I wanted to know was if you were going to wake up, and you just weren't waking up. And I just kept coming in to talk to you just in case you could hear. And it just got really depressing after that.
Could you hear? I mean, and you have other people who have family members in situations and in coma. You know, what could you hear? What do you remember? Was there anything in that time?
Yeah, so I remember hearing Jake always coming and going, "Hi, sweetie," like just like, and I remember being like, "Stop!" Like I did at one point say like, "Stop," with the tube in my mouth, but that was when I had woken up. But while I was still kind of out in the coma, I do have it's not even faint. It's a very clear memory of hearing my sister's voice. She said, "Hey, it's me, Sabrina, your sister. I'm here." And she was rubbing my arm, and "I'm here, and we're not going to leave your side. We're going to be here the whole time. Like, don't be scared." Like, just was saying that. And that's when I started waking up, actually, was when she was saying that. And I have faint memories of hearing my dad come in and, "Hi, Hannah." Like, everyone was just so scared. So whatever was being said was just like them being brave to
But the
talk.
doctor said to your sister, she can't hear you.
Oh yeah, "Oh, you know your sister's in a coma and can't hear you." And I want to go back now and be like, no, like I was able to hear, and it's actually great comfort for people. If you're in a coma, like, you're not dead. So it's like, to make a comment like that to a sister who's trying to like not grieve, like she's trying to do the opposite of grieving. She's trying to keep her sister alive. To say that is so inaccurate, and it was so rude to say. And to anyone who has a family member that either lived through a coma or passed away after a coma, they could hear you. Like, you're heard. You're not just talking to a body. Like, they could hear you. Like, it's not BS. So that's that. I get emotional with that. Yeah. I get emotional with that because it's like, some people don't get to know that because their loved one doesn't make it. Like, I was lucky because I made it, but some people just go and they're left unknown, whereas I got to actually feel it and see it. And it's nice to have your family around you talking to you. It's not good for a doctor to say to do otherwise, because then you're just laying in the room, and it's a scary feeling. Like, I remember when I was in that room alone, like, all the machines and everything, like, you want your family there and you want them talking to you whether you're conscious or not.
And you had someone there around the clock. Like,
Yeah.
you had, I mean, your brother leaves New
Yeah.
York, everyone's moved to Toronto. You know, Jake at this point, you know, should be doing off-season training and, you know, being on the ice.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything just stopped.
Yeah, everything was on hold for this.
You're starting to initiate, you're starting to come out of the coma. Was there an awakening moment? Do you remember what that
I remember
was
the
like?
whole accident. I didn't need to be told what happened. I remembered everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, I think, lose memory of what happened before, and they don't know why they're there. I knew why I was there. I was just before I was about to wake up, I had a vision similar to what I had during the night of the fire when I saw my grandma, what I was telling you before, and it kind of all ties back in with this. But I saw my grandma, but this time she was in the same light.
She wasn't in the shadow on the
bench.
bench.
She was in the same light that my aunt was in, and my aunt had passed. So I remember seeing that, and then I remember waking up, and I just said, "Where is Grandma and Zadie? Like, where are they? Where is she?" And I knew she had passed, but they all wanted to keep it from me. And they didn't say anything. And then about a week later, my mom came to me and said, "Yeah, your grandma passed that night."
That same night?
Yeah, the 17th. And so, like, they tried to hide it from me, but I knew. And it just, like, I don't know if you'd call it an awakening thing, but I felt really secure with her, and I felt like she was just with me, and I felt like she was what saved me. And because she was just so involved, I kept seeing her, and I knew that she wasn't meant to be alive to see me go through this, and I wasn't meant to be there for her passing. And I missed her funeral, and I was very close with her. She was like the mom that didn't say no, and
she was the puppy.
Yeah, she was the puppy, and she would be freaking to know that this was happening, but she was the one who protected me, I think, so.
Is this your mom's mom?
Yeah.
So in all of this, your mom is going through.
Yeah. So my mom lost her mom and thought she was going to lose me, and she wasn't good. She's still not good, but it's time.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was scary, and my grandfather's still there, so she's taking care of him, and her friends were great and would take him out. He turned 90 the day before, so May 8th he turned 90, and I got to be there with him and her, and I took pictures of them with balloons, and
you were there the day before the accident.
Yeah. So I got to see her in a good, not good, but she had Alzheimer's. She was really not eating, and I got to like hug her and tell her I loved her, and I wasn't there when she was in the hospital bed, but my brother and sister were, and they kept saying like, Hannah loves you, and put a picture of me on her chest.
Your family's gone through it's hell.
Yeah, it feels like hell. And I try to make light of it as much as possible, and I'm very happy to be alive, and I'm very happy to be in the condition I'm in and healing. I mean, sometimes I look at myself and I just cry because it's depressing, and no one wants to look down at their body and just like see basically a mess. It looks like you've been chewed by like a shark or something. It spat back up. But I met a lady at Sunnybrook who she was in a helicopter crash 20 years ago, and I just thought she like was a worker or a visitor or something, and they said no, actually she was burned worse than you. And I was like, what? And yeah, she was in a helicopter crash into a landmine, and all her colleagues around her were dead immediately on the scene, and she survived, and she showed me her arms. They were grafted and looked perfect. Wouldn't have thought anything. So that's given my mom a lot of strength, knowing like she saw Elizabeth. She's doing well.
When they say it will heal, it will heal.
Yeah.
And she was an example. Mm-hmm. Were there other people in the burn unit? And you said, the unit itself smells like burnt skin. Like
the burn unit in Sunnybrook is like, you walk in, you smell like the distinct smell. I met a really nice couple. She was brought in, I think the day I woke up, she was brought in, her barbecue had exploded and she was pregnant, and the baby survived the accident. So she was burnt. I think she had like 13% of her body burnt. But her husband and Jake were talking, and Jake had already gone through what they were about to go through. Mm-hmm. So he was able to kind of like prep him and tell him everything's going to be okay. And as soon as I started like learning how to walk, they were excited. Okay, she's doing this. So they knew she was going to be good. And I still keep in touch with her. And we kind of, this sucks, like compare our days to each other. But
what were the days like then? So you wake up, which I think is a massive relief for everyone involved. Mm-hmm. And then it's the process of she's awake and she's alive, but there's a long haul, because you just mentioned you had to learn to walk again. So what happens from the moment your eyes open?
So my eyes open.
I know you asked about your grandmother.
I told Jake, you're in a lot of trouble. Why? I had no idea. Because like I always had not trust issues, but it's like we're young and he's my boyfriend. He's a hockey player, he likes to party, but he, so we were in Toronto, and I knew that that's where his ex was. So I woke up from my coma and I go, you're in a lot of trouble. And he goes,
I'm glad you're laughing about this
and
now.
And it was like the fact that like I was able to like process that like we were in Toronto, and like I didn't like being in Toronto. I don't like Toronto anyways. The traffic is ridiculous. Yeah. So I was pissed to be in Toronto when I found out I was there. It's like, why? I thought my dogs, that was a thing. And I also thought, what is Jake going to do? Is he going to leave me? Like, it's a scary thing. You get burned. Like, I thought my face was off. I didn't think I had a face. So the fact that my boyfriend stuck around, I was like in shock. My boyfriend's still here, and my mom's like, he freaking loves you. Like, what do you think this is?
He's been here every day.
Yeah, yeah. And it took a lot of like them telling me like, what are you thinking? Like, Because to me, I was just like, why would anyone want to be with me if I don't have a face?
Listen, you guys are just celebrating your 4 years together.
Yeah.
There's a relationship in all of this.
Yeah.
When you wake up and they tell you what has happened and what is going on, what does your progression from there happen? Like, what is rehab? What are your days like?
So my days in the hospital were really, really brutal. Like my family had to come every day. Freaking parking is it's like costs like rent to park. It's like paying rent to park for a day. So my family had to go through that every day. So for them it was one thing. For me it was even worse because I was staring at the same walls. They moved me to a different room and I was like, this is the best day ever. I get to see a new window. Like I was in the room that was being watched 24/7 by nurses and doctors because anything could happen any minute. And then the physio would come and they'd stretch my fingers and do that kind of stuff. And
was that painful?
Yeah, it hurt. And then
were you still on
oh yeah,
an enormous amount of painkillers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm still on my pain meds, and in the burn unit, that's the thing that also the burn unit is like very, very about taking your pain meds. It's not the opioid crisis. It doesn't have anything to do with burns. Because if you're going through a burn injury, you need those pain meds. Mm-hmm. Like you need them. It's not bearable to be without them. And
could you tell when the dose was fading, when you needed it?
Yeah, you could feel like your body's like blistering almost. It's like a tight blister. And they'd come stretch my fingers. Then one day, do you want to try walking? And I'd be too scared. No. But for the first few weeks, it was all...
your legs are healing. Mm-hmm. They've been I would assume like they need to heal also because they've had the skin taken off.
Yeah. And for the first few weeks, it wasn't just like when I was in the coma, they were like turning me over, rolling me so I wouldn't get the sores.
They were doing that while you were in the coma.
Yeah, while I was in the coma. And then when I was up for the first bit, they weren't like, I couldn't do it. I was just sitting there talking and like saying the tubes had just come out. I still had the nose tube in, and one night I pulled the nose tube out because it was I don't know, I was just on too many meds. I didn't even really know what was going on. I pulled it out of my nose, and the guy in the room behind me did the same thing. He was burnt with there was like an acid accident on like a cave, like one of those like mining things. And we both pulled our tubes out the same night, and it was like kind of like a joke because everything that I did, like he would do, or like the same thing would happen to him right after. So we got in shit for pulling our tubes out. But then I can't say that word on this.
You're fine. At this point, we're all good. Yeah.
So they they scummed us out for pulling our tubes out, put them back in. That's how we were eating. We couldn't eat solids, couldn't drink. I was thirsty as all hell. And you know what they were giving me to drink? A sponge, a wet sponge on a stick. Yeah, that's how I was drinking. It was not good. The first few weeks aren't... It's not like they just come in your page. No, like I couldn't drink water. I was so thirsty. My brother even said like your mouth, something's off, and they're like, no, it's just like she's not allowed to swallow yet. She could choke. So I had to relearn how to swallow. I had to learn how to walk. I had to my voice wasn't the same at first even. Like it was very tube just got pulled out of my throat, right? Yeah. I had to learn how to do everything again, even drink water. They were testing me looking at me as I was swallowing. I'm like, oh.
Just because of the movement, or to make sure the tongue...
To make sure that, like, I was swallowing right, because I hadn't for so long, right? Like, I was just...
And the walking was you just hadn't used your legs in so long. Like
that was weird to learn how to walk again. It was really weird.
And when you say learn to walk again, like, I mean, you need to put one foot in front of the other.
No, yeah, and you want to do that, and you're looking at yourself, but you're so weak. And I always wondered that before. I was always like, when people learn how to walk again, like, just move your feet. Like, how hard can it be?
Right.
But, like, you feel so weak. Like, you can't just move it's not that easy. You can't just move your feet. You have to, like, find balance. It's like when you watch an old person trying to get by walking with a walker. That's what I looked like learning how to walk. I couldn't find balance. I couldn't stand up. I had no leg strength, no core strength, like to keep my upper body up. And I was hunched because my shoulders were affected. And it was the learning how to walk thing freaked me out. Yeah, that was not.
When did you feel like you were starting to make small milestones though? Like you'd get to this milestone and say, okay, I got to this point. Now, like, what's the next? Yeah, getting from A to B and then from B to C.
Now, like, the last couple of weeks that I've been home. because when I was in rehab there, like the Sunnybrook rehab, so there's the Sunnybrook Hospital and then the St. John's rehab, which they're like brother sister type thing. It was not like little milestones. It was like little taunts. Like I was being taunted. Like I was out of the hospital but not home yet. And I just wanted to be home. I wanted to see my dogs and all that. I was doing little silly exercises, like moving a stick from, like I felt like I was in kindergarten. So, and they kept saying like, no, you're making progress. And I was like, this isn't progress. I mean, like I'm a flexible yoga teacher. This isn't progress for me. Moving my arm like this.
As a stick. Doing a downward dog is progress for me.
So I was having a really hard time like acknowledging that like anything was progress, because to me none of it was. To me, I should be moving like that, right? And just now that I'm home, I'm seeing the milestones.
When were you able to come home?
June 26th.
So almost a month and a half.
Yeah.
You come home. I follow Hana on I follow Hana on Insta, so I saw the reaction of your dogs.
It was amazing.
Okay, but I was terrified.
Yeah, that he was
watching
gonna
it.
jump me.
Like I was like, how did the dog not know to jump and scratch?
They know.
Or they did.
Yeah, they know. And they sensed me being gone for so long, so they were like, "Where the heck's Mom?" I'm acting like they're actually kids, like they didn't talk, but they know, they sense, and then they like Ace, my German Shepherd, will come to like give a little bit of a like he wanted. Did you remember seeing him jump?
Bandaged. I mean, like your whole body still is bandaged. Your whole upper body.
Yeah. Well, these are compression garments.
Okay.
So it looks like a bandage, but it's basically like Spanx almost, and what it does, it's crazy the technology they have. It presses the scars down so everything blends, and it keeps the blood. It does something, I don't know the exact science about what it does with the blood, but so the redness goes down. So when I take them off, I could see kind of what my arms are gonna look like smooth, like with the skin is all one.
But you take it off how long with the compression shirts and stuff not on? Does it start to swell
I have
back
to keep these on for 23 hours a day for a full year.
23 hours a day for a year.
Yeah.
What is it like to shower?
Showering is the best part of my day, actually. And when I actually was in the St. John's rehab, that was a little milestone, actually. They said, "What's your goal for rehab?" I said, "I want to be able to wash my hair and give my hair a good scrub." And so they got me doing that, and I was washing my hair. And when you get up, you feel really stiff and really tight. And then once you get in the shower, you kind of feel like you've loosened up.
It doesn't hurt, the water on the skin?
No, and it feels pretty good. Like I shower with hot water.
Really?
Not boiling, obviously.
Can you wash?
Yeah.
You can wash?
Yeah, you wash normally. It's very, like, everything feels normal. Like, the pain that I have is literally in my chest from the tightness.
The tightness of the skin, the graft skin.
Pulling and wanting to shrink, but my job is to keep it
from
shrinking.
Shrinking. You want it stretched. So a shower, I'm surprised. I thought a shower would be painful.
No, the shower is great.
Feels really good. Your first thing that goes on is the compression wear, and then you can put on clothes.
Yeah.
You're able, at one of the milestones I know is you being allowed to wear mascara, or to be makeup now. So I know that we were supposed to schedule our podcast for a week ago, and you called like 20 minutes prior to, and we're like, something's wrong. What had happened? Like, there was a massive issue.
So
there are setbacks. It's not like every day is unicorns and rainbows.
You'll find little things that you're like, this is not supposed to be like that. This is so wrong. So what happened with my arm was my garment. I guess, remember when I was showing you my garments, I was like, I have to be careful with how I'm doing this. So that's what happened. So I took my garment off, and I think I put my glove underneath my sleeve, and my arm blew up, and my arm up here where the scar is was like out to here.
Like it was massive.
Like it was, and I was like, this isn't normal.
Like a balloon.
Yeah, like worrisome huge. Like it shouldn't have been that big. And so right away I was like, we're going to the doctor. Like, this isn't, and they just readjusted my garments, told me to take my pain meds because it killed. Like, it freaking hurt.
Simply putting on the wrong pressure on the garments.
Doing it wrong. Like,
forced that much swelling that it looked like a balloon in your arm.
And my surgeon, I'm kind of an idiot because my surgeon warned me.
Kind of an idiot? Okay.
Yeah, he warned me. He was like, if you readjust your garments, like, you have to put them on all over again because you don't want, and it happened to my feet. The same thing that happened to my arm happened to my feet. My feet were freaking swollen. And Stu actually reached out to me and was like, I had that too, like, just walk. And so I loosened up the feet and walked around a bit.
You're talking about stuntman Stu, who I think for so many people, especially in the community of Ottawa, understood and watched his battle with leukemia. Did you have other people reach out to you? Like, did you have an outreach of people that could say, one day you'll feel normal again? Or...
Yeah, I did. I have, well, everyone's saying that I'll be good, and they're sending me really good. So many people have sent me cards to the hospital that I wasn't expecting. Like, it was the best feeling on my birthday when I was in the hospital to, like, sit there and open cards from people. And yeah, it was, and there's been people too that have obviously been a disappointment. Like, you know, certain people don't pull through or aren't there when you need them the most, and you learn who your real friends are in these situations like this. But I've even had people I don't even know email me, like, saying this is what you're gonna look like. My cousin got burnt, you know, and like the fact that they're reaching out to me because they know what it was like to go through something like that. It was just, everyone's been so nice, and it's crazy. You only realize these things when you have it happen, but you shouldn't have it happen. People should be being friendly and nice all the time, you know?
I think that understanding who your friends are, who steps up and who has been there. I mean, because you've pretty much been housebound. So the entertainment's in your house, and the friends come to you, and it's about trying to make life seem as normal as possible when it's completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah. And actually the girl who does my hair, she came over yesterday and she told me that she went to a sidekick, and I was considering doing a sidekick, but I was kind of iffy about it.
What's a sidekick?
Sorry, not psychic. I don't know why I was calling it psychic. A psychic.
A psychic.
So what's a psychic?
I think you've had some of that in your visions, right?
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
You've had that experience.
Yeah, my sister went and didn't like it. But so my hairstylist, who did my hair today, actually, she went and she was really disturbed by all this happening. She wanted to know how I was going to be. And they told her this was while I was in coma. So like for them to know this is kind of like, how do you know? Like, unless you spoke to my doctors, you shouldn't know this information. And she said that the psychic said that I was going to heal and my face was going to be perfect back to itself, and that I was going to have a few scars, which is exactly what the doctor said. So like my spirituality through all this, like I've never been a super spiritual person. I mean, like I'm Jewish and like I have just white parents. Like there's no spirituality there. My dad looks at me like I'm nuts if I tell him that like I saw my grandma, you know? And so to see all this kind of happening with the visions of my grandma, whatever you want to call them, visions or dreams or whatever they are, it still happens, and you still feel this really comforting feeling when you hear. Even when I heard about the psychic, it was like a really comforting. I was like, really, they said that? Like, even though I'm already I always am looking for the reassurance. I'd ask every nurse that walked by the room. My family started laughing about it because like every nurse that ran in, am I gonna be okay? Like, am I gonna heal? I wanted to hear it from everyone.
And you did. And with each of the milestones that they said you were going to achieve, you have. So what are the next ones? I mean, they said in a couple weeks you'll be able to put some mascara on. Yeah. Like, what are your next couple that you're waiting for?
So I want to be able to, well, obviously the biggest one, I just want to be able to sit and not be in pain. I want my body to feel normal. I want my body to feel, I've moved past the looks at this point. And I know it's going to look okay. It's not going to look the best. There's nothing I could do. Nothing.
But you're out in public. Yeah. I mean, you've come here, right? Like, you've done certain things.
Out. Like, I went out in Lansdowne. Like, I'm trying to act like nothing happened, because sometimes if you think about it too much, like, it gets really, really depressing.
Have you been out? Have people stared? Or
actually, yeah. So I had the one incident in Toronto. It was right at the metro beside, I posted about that. It was at the metro beside the apartment that we were renting. So this man comes strolling along. Hey, it looks like the sun ain't afraid of white people. Hey, darling, you look like you've been burnt to death. So at that moment, I just like bursted out into tears and was like, yeah, actually, I almost did burn to death. So you should watch your mouth and probably not talk and say things to people that you have no idea what's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm. Look at Veronica. Her saying you look great.
Yeah, so thank you. So he said that, and it got Jake pretty ticked off. But what happened was I kind of gave him my mouthful, and then we kept walking, and Jake goes, "Wait, what did that guy just say?" And I repeated it to him, and he went out and went after the guy. Didn't touch him because he's like, this is probably not worth a charge. We probably don't need that in our lives right now. So he kept his hands to himself. But I had called my mom, and I knew she was with my siblings at the time. I said, "Run!" Like, this guy, like, we were just flipping. So they all come running into the scene like Avenger, like the hero.
It's the Engel clan.
Yeah, and my mom comes with her purse, like clutching her Chanel purse, clutching it to her body like it was her weapon. And this guy's like, "Where are all these people coming from?" Like, he's like, I'm sorry." So it was a good lesson to people to not judge people, because he probably just, this girl's red. He doesn't know that my whole life has been...
Yeah, and doesn't see what's underneath that.
Yeah, like, it's... And even I, like, looked at people before and made comments about their appearance, and, like, it's not fair, because you don't know, maybe that birthmark isn't just, like, maybe they have that birthmark there because it saved their life. Like, maybe that's what they needed to...
It's changed your perspective.
Yeah, it's completely changed my perspective on that and other things, just, like, the picking on the biggest part that has been affected is the fact that the little things that used to get to me, I don't even give time to anymore. I don't give time to the little things that used to bother me. Like
what?
For example, before, if I were to take a picture and my arm were to look like fat or something, I'd be like, "Oh no, I don't want it. Don't take that down." But right now, I would pay the world. I'd do anything to get that fat arm
back.
Yeah,
like the way it was.
Yeah.
In your post, you talk a lot about the power of your body. Like, you have, like...
Yeah.
Like, while you would have in times before picked at your imperfections.
Yeah.
It is so...
It's crazy. Like, my body, like, saved me, and I look at the areas where it was grafted sometimes, and I'm just like, why? And then I kind of shifted my perspective the other day. I was like, instead of thinking about, like, why I look like this, like, I should be happy that that's my skin that saved me, like, saved my life, and it's why I'm here. And I do anything to get fat arms again. Like, it's just to see people, like, be unhappy with themselves is like, don't, like, you get it all stripped away from you in a minute, and you wish you had it back. You wish you had it back. And people, like myself even, like, I used to not post a picture if I didn't like the way I looked for silly reasons. And your body is just, like, the best thing you have. It's your person is just in your body, and whatever happens to it is just reminders of what you went through. And that's how I kind of view myself now. I'm me, and these will remind Jake and I all the time of what we went through.
I look at it's like your armor. It's like it became your armor.
Yeah.
It protected you, and it's regenerating like a superhero.
Yeah, and
there's a superhero aspect to what, and I've seen, like, to what your body is capable of in terms of it's healing itself. And I think
it's crazy
healing your relationships. And I think in watching this story, it seems you and Jake are even, when you're worried that we're in Toronto and he's trying to go visit an ex-girlfriend, it's become stronger. And
yeah, I don't even think about that anymore. I'm like, he's not going anywhere. I was like, it emphasized his love for me, and, like, it's made us both stronger people. And it's, my family's weak right now, but everyone will come out of this stronger, and I know that everyone will come out of it stronger.
What happens now? You've been home a couple weeks. Jake typically would be going back to play in the Czech, and how has the team been with him? Like, how
amazing.
How are you looking at the next? Like, what are your next? Give me your next month and then 3 month kind of milestones.
So right now, my days have been basically rehab, which is physiotherapy and occupational therapy at the Ottawa General. I do it there, and so my days have been just going to that, doing that. and then going home and just relaxing at home, healing. I'm literally, we just look at each other, we're like, all right, another day of healing. Like, it's literally like we look at each other, we're like, what the hell
That
is
was
going
24
on?
more hours we got for the body to heal.
Yeah, and so every day we think that, and the team has been insane. Like, they sent me packages in the hospital of like the fan group wrote like letters in a book, and well, we hope to see Jake back, and now they actually want us to come back, and it's just a matter of getting some medical things figured out if I could be taken care of properly
And
down there. Yeah.
like that they would have the rehab and the occupational
Yeah.
physio to be able to
Yeah.
continue the healing process.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd like to do that?
I'd love to, because I feel like my happiness is there, and I feel like I came home and it kind of was just I was robbed, kind of. That's how I feel. But
You were home for 5 days.
that's
Yeah.
why I feel like
And-
if maybe I was home for longer, maybe my mind I would think of it differently. But I literally think of it as like, why did we come home? But then my mom always says like, what if this happened in Europe? Are you crazy? Like you know. But then again, I also say like everything happens for a reason. Like, everything's set up and meant to be the way it is because that's your plan. It's supposed to be like that.
So right now you've had an extra hour of healing as we've been sitting here. 24 on the day, small milestones, possibility of Jake. I mean, is Jakey, I can't even imagine Jake being in shape to be able to go.
You'd be surprised.
He's been able to maintain some conditioning and stuff?
He's been on the ice. He actually, surprisingly enough, he might go back in better shape than what he left.
A note to other players: maybe take a couple weeks off of not training to.
And even when I
re-heal.
was in the hospital, like, he'd go to the gym sometimes. He found it hard, and he'd go for a skate like at night, or he'd leave when the hospital would kick him out and go for a skate or something.
I'm sure that was probably actually healing for him.
Yeah, it
like, I
was.
think the skating to have that release of emotion and be doing something that he could just probably do without thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
just
it was.
skate. Yeah. So when will we know if you're able to make that transition
Hopefully
back?
within the next, maybe even today. Like, we're literally just waiting to iron out all those. If I could get my massage there. Like, the massaging of the skin is the most important thing. And I had
Does
my
it feel
appointment-
good?
Really good.
Oh,
yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? That's not true. It really hurts. But I've always been that type. Like, when I work out, like, the next day, I like that sore feeling.
Okay.
So, like, it's painful. Like, you need to go on your meds. Like, you need to go to rehab and go to your massage very medicated. But to me, I like that feeling because it makes me feel like I'm healing when I'm getting stretched like that.
Your profession, what you spent most of your time doing as yoga, and then
Saved me, yeah.
do you see yourself being able to stretch yourself back or forward in those
I
ways
hope.
again? Yeah.
I'm trying. Like, I'll do little yoga like flows by myself, and it's discouraging sometimes because I'm like, crap, I never thought I wouldn't be able to do this. Like, why can't I do this? But it makes me feel like I did that the other night and then had a great day. Like, woke up and felt great. Like, it's crazy how it. And the doctor told me, I had my appointment on Thursday, and he told me, he was like, your yoga background is coming in very, very key for this healing. And he actually told me, he was like, even if we brought the whole thing about Europe up, and he said, as long as you're going and wearing your garments and stretching and like keeping yourself stretched and mobile like you are, then that's fine. But me being and my family being the way we are, we need to have rehab. Like, you
want the resources that you've had here.
We want the maximum results for my final product.
But you're able to meditate. You're able to kind of get yourself into. Do you visualize yourself healing?
Yeah, I picture like little nerves reconnecting to my skin. Because sometimes like Jake will tickle my arm, and like I love the feeling because like he'll pass by spots that like weren't affected, and like I'll feel it, and then over the spots that were affected, and I'll start feeling it, and I'll just picture little nerves reattaching to my skin, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's more happening today, like, you know, and just picture the little wins. But I'm trying to make them all very small. So my next one is like, okay, we'll go to Europe and we'll be happy again because that's where we were happy last, and stay there forever. I'm kidding. I'll come back.
Yeah. Your mom needs to be a bubby and everything else too.
Seriously.
So it's an every day is a new process.
You never know what you're waking up to. I could wake up one day bawling, and Jake will be like, going to be like, he knows the right things to say, and it could be the other way around. Like, it could be a really bad day for him and a really good day for me, and like I have to be the one to. And throughout the whole thing, even if he's having a good day, like, I'm trying to be really strong for him, because what he saw will never be unseen.
Has he been able to express it to you? Like,
yeah,
you've had those moments where he was like,
yeah, there was a couple moments where it was bad, and I just said, like, it's okay, and we're gonna be okay, and like, he's just really happy that I'm alive.
all the right things happened.
Yeah.
I know that there is a GoFundMe. I know that there is an education aspect that you want people to know about. I think in all of this, there's a message, and I know and people being very aware of their surroundings.
Yeah, well, so the GoFundMe I started, it was actually, I felt really bad because I was lucky enough to be able to leave the hospital and have like the resources and like family, but there were some people that can't leave the hospital because they don't have the money, and going through a burn injury is weird to say, but it's like very expensive because your family's coming, they're paying a lot to park, you're buying these garments aren't cheap. Like, the government covers, I think, 75% of them, but still like $1,000 after they cover that, and you have to get a new set every 3 months. It's not cheap. So I was like, I want to give money to the hospital so they could maybe like help those people that can't go. Like, it's such a bad injury as it is. Why do you need to be stuck in a hospital? You know what I mean? It's just, so that bothered me. So I was like, I'm gonna give money to the hospital. And when I told them I was gonna give it to them, they were like, no, worry about yourself. And I was like, I'm giving it to you. So waiting for GoFundMe to send me the funds, and then I'm gonna bring it into the
burn unit.
The burn unit, yeah. And then my dad is trying to do stuff to get a burn unit in Ottawa because he thought it was crazy that there wasn't one. So
yeah, for a city of this size that we don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're grateful that Sunnybrook was there,
Yeah.
and they have the expertise. And then for everyone who's still sitting by a fire pit, and it looks really pretty in the backyard, it happened in a split second.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened just once.
Don't be that hero that's trying to make the fire big that throws a bottle of bug spray in there, because it literally takes 1 second for it to catch your shirt, and you might not be as lucky as I am and come out with a face, or, you know, like come out with both of your arms. I squeaked away from having to get my neck grafted. I was squeaked by like an inch. Like, if it was up half an inch higher, you would have had to graft my whole neck, and that would have been terrible. And I squeaked by just having to get my arm amputated. And if I woke up with no arm, I think that this whole healing process, I think what's making it easier for me is that I still feel like me. Whereas if I woke up with no arm, I would probably, I don't know, because I've not experienced it, but I think I'd be having a much harder time.
I still think you'd be a fighter. I still think you would found how awesome the one arm
I guess, because
based on your attitude, it has been remarkable. I think that you are a remarkable young woman, and you are beautiful both on the inside and out, and I think that's the critical part. And I really appreciate the honesty of being thankful for what it is that you have, and not taking advantage, or
especially like the girls, like, I know, like, I'm a 24-year-old girl, and
who cared what was on Instagram.
Yeah, I cared about if people were if someone even took a picture of me on their phone before, like, I'd have to see it for reasons that were so stupid, like to see if you had a double chin, to see if your arm looked fat. Like, I have a 21-year-old sister who's learned a lot from this, I think, because whereas before she would look at a picture and I don't look good. No, I look damn good. That's my body, and like, it looks pretty freaking good. And that's what I told Jake the other day. Like, I woke up and I looked at myself and obviously went through the whole crying thing, and then I was like, instead of looking at it like that, like, let's look at it like, this is why I'm here. Like, if this wasn't like that, I wouldn't be here. So
every day.
Yeah.
And then you woke up and it was 24 hours more of healing. I like that. The nerves are connecting. They're magically reappearing.
Yeah.
Hannah, it's been a pleasure. I can't wait to catch up either after you come back from the check and had a really good season, and
maybe I'll see you
healing
in Europe.
And the Awaken a Better You. I definitely will try to catch up in that sense too. But I think you're a superhero in all of this. What your body has done and your mindset into it, and it's really remarkable.
Thank you. It was nice. It was nice talking, and
Yeah.
I like getting people.
We were going to meet. It's interesting that we met under these circumstances, but
I know, but everything happens for a reason. You never know what the next connection to life is. Like, there's got to be something after this that maybe it was because of my grandma, like we were saying, but everything happens for a reason, and that's why I'd like to talk about it. And Jake's more quiet than I am, but I like to talk about it because I want people to know that coming from a girl who's very vain, I'm vain. I admit I'm 100% vain. I care about what I look like, care about the materialistic things, shouldn't care about any of that stuff because it could be all that crap taken away from you so easily. So
you are a fighter. You really are. It has been a pleasure. That has been episode 27 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang. If you have an opportunity to write or to let us know your thoughts, or if there's a guest or questions you'd like to ask and information, please let us know. And of course, like, subscribe, comment. It'd be great in helping to see the podcast grow as well. There you have it. That's a wrap. Have a great day.